Hello, everyone. It's also another episode on Edu Spotlight, which is proudly sponsored by Electricity. And today we have with us an important personality. He's going to share more about himself, but long and short is he has experience in remote sensing. He also has interest in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, specifically the no hunger and climate change. Today we have with us Henry and sit and enjoy and let's see how this discussion goes. Henry, we are very glad to have you today. It's been hard getting you, especially, because of your schedules over the past few weeks with NASA and your research and all of that. How have you been?
Oh, I've been great, Daniel. Been wonderful. And it's a pleasure to be on this platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Thank you so much. And now it's time for our audience to know you, who you are, where you come
mm.
from, what experiences you've had over the course of your life. Briefly, can you tell us about yourself?
Sure, Daniel. So, hello, everyone. As Daniel said, my name is Henry, and I am Henry Osei. Growing up, I lived most of my childhood in Ghana. And then I started my bachelor's education at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where I bagged a bachelor's degree in geomatics engineering. And then after that, I had the opportunity to work on some few projects like road construction, farm irrigation projects. And then fortunately enough, I had the opportunity to come to the US to pursue a master's degree in applied geospatial science, which I'm almost done with trying to wrap up the research that I'm doing. Recently, I had the opportunity to enroll in a NASA internship program, which have no words to say than it is phenomenal, simply phenomenal, which
Hmm.
I'll talk about soon. So that's something small about me. Yes.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Henry. And we are definitely curious to know more about your experience at NASA and
Mhm.
also some of your other research experiences and how they align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, specifically the no hunger and climate change. So we want to understand, before anything starts, there may
Mhm.
be a trigger. So what would
Mhm.
you say has been the main incident or that particular thing that birthed your passion towards climate change and no hunger UN SDGs?
Sure. So I would start by saying that my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
the zero hunger and climate change wasn't the thing that I thought about as part of the SDG goals. So I have family members who do a lot of health service. They are in the health department,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doctors, pharmacists. Growing up, I spent most of my childhood with my mother, going to the
Mm-hmm.
hospital, seeing sick people here and there, seeing my mother trying to help them. Starting, I had the idea of serving humankind in the health system. Relating that to the SDG goals, I was focusing on the good health and well-being goal. Then I would say after my bachelor's degree, when I was working, and most importantly, when I started my master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
everything changed.
Mm.
Everything changed. Mostly it is due to my research assistantship role that I did with my supervisor, some of the courses that I took. Then recently again, based on the NASA internship program that I had. So as you just said, right now my focus is on zero hunger and climate action. Then for the zero hunger, I don't know about you, but we when we were young, we watch documentaries from BBC, these prominent news outlets. They
Mm-hmm.
have documentaries about wars going on in Africa, how
Mm-hmm.
women and children are suffering. I used to watch that a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had that back in mind. Oh, maybe someday when I grew up, I didn't know I was going to do that through remote sensing or what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that maybe someday when I grow up, when I get money, I can extend arms to help these kind of people. And then through the program, what I do, as you said, I do only remote sensing. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm focused in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that, we can monitor earth processes wherever from space.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see a wide area.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that, we can improve agriculture. We can monitor how our Earth is doing in terms of climate, rainfall pattern, temperature. We can
Mm-hmm.
do a whole lot of things with that.
Mm.
So looking at that and thinking of these people going through a lot of challenges. And then one more last thing. Growing up again, we had smallholder farmlands. I used to enjoy a lot trying to help my parents with them.
Okay.
So linking all these things together, I then thought, why not channel my energy into something that still serves humanity,
Mm-hmm.
although I can't do it through the health system. Again, the end goal is still serving humanity
Mm.
and in a way that I'm quite used to, which is agriculture, and to have a soft spot for women and children.
Oh, okay.
See all these people going through challenges. So why not do something like that, which will make me feel a
Personal
sense of
fulfillment, right?
exactly. You see that
Mm.
thing? So that's where it all started from.
Okay.
I would say that goal is still in its early phases because it recently started about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
But so far, I've seen a lot. I've
Mm.
seen a lot, and I see a lot of potential in that space.
Mm. Wow, I'm glad you are able to, really ground your experiences and how they have shaped your understanding on zero hunger and climate change. Someone coming from a place where you have lots of small holder farmers, I'm sure you may have
Exactly.
seen the kinds of challenges that they go through.
Mhm.
Sometimes harvests do not come out as they want. Sometimes it could be pests, sometimes it could be, heat, a lot of things, lack of rainfall, a lot of things. But I'm sure with your research and in remote sensing, definitely you are able to contribute to your quota to solving some of these problems. Thank you for drawing that connection. And one thing that we want to also understand, because you mentioned in your final words, in your final sentences, that there's a lot of possibilities in this space. So, what
Yes.
specific possibility currently that we will say you are narrowing down on, and you hope to use this opportunity to, solve the bigger problem?
For that one, as I said, a lot of potentials.
Mm-hmm.
One word of caution, the technology that we are using, it can't solve everything. That's
Mm-hmm.
one word I need to put out there. It
Mm-hmm.
cannot solve everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it has a lot of potential. And one area that I'm specifically focusing right now
Mm-hmm.
is on crop monitoring from the start.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm focusing on right now, crop monitoring. To give you just a brief idea about how this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
I should have stated that the one that is obstructed by clouds is
Mm-hmm.
called optical data. So we
Okay.
are trying to use radar data.
Mm-hmm.
That one is not obstructed by satellite to estimate the products of the optical data. In return, we can have a very consistent coverage of the area or whatever that we are interested in the crops that we are trying to measure. And vegetation or crops, they rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 days, you see the crop starting to bloom. You see flowers today. In 2 days, you see no more. Constant monitoring of these crop areas.
Mm-hmm.
So when we try to do that with the research that I'm doing right now, we
Mm-hmm.
can then constantly monitor the crops and see how it's developing, see the condition in order to predict yields and have a sustainable agriculture in simple
Wow.
terms. That's what we're
Wow.
trying to do.
Wow. Wow. That
Yes.
sounds great to me. For people who are not in your field, when you say
Mhm.
remote sensing, it might spin
Mhm.
heads around. Like we know TV
Exactly.
remotes, we know different kinds of remotes,
Uh-huh.
and we know sensing.
Mhm.
It's like you're trying to have a sense
Mhm.
of something. But when you put
Mhm.
those two terms together
Mhm.
in a brief, kind of explanation, how would you explain remote sensing to a layman?
Good, good. I like the way you started this question. So, this is one of the problems we have in our field. It's not like being a doctor, being a nurse, being a teacher,
Uh-huh.
where almost everyone knows what that is about. So, you don't need to talk much to explain what you're doing. But for this, it's one of our biggest challenges, trying to explain what you do. It might sound like rocket science because it's not that
Because you go
popular
to
to everyone.
space, right?
But it's not that difficult or complicated. If you
Mm-hmm.
start, you'll understand. So in simple terms, as you said, connecting remote and sensing. We
Mm-hmm.
are trying to sense something, we are trying to measure something,
Mm-hmm.
being it something related to crops, rainfall, whatever that we are trying to sense.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you a practical example so that it can make it more meaningful to our listeners. Let's say we are trying to measure the chlorophyll content in plants,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of us to go to the plants, use some instruments to get in contact with the plant to measure that chlorophyll content.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, when you are doing that, you definitely have to obstruct the plants or disturb something in the plants to get what you are interested in, which is the
Okay.
chlorophyll,
Mm.
right? For us to do that, we don't go into physical contact with the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, we have systems to monitor whatever that we are trying to monitor, which is again the chlorophyll, far away from the plant.
Mm. So that it does
So
not obstruct the growth, right?
exactly thing, the
Okay.
exact thing. So nowadays we know of drones. Drones is
Mm-hmm.
becoming a thing nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use drones. We attach these monitoring systems, these specialized cameras. They are specialized
Mm-hmm.
because of the portion of light that is used to capture these images.
Mm-hmm.
So we attach them on drones. You see people flying drones. These are specialized drones. And then
Okay.
it can capture that chlorophyll content in the plants.
Mm.
One way also is through airplanes, which what drones are quite closer to us. Airplanes goes a lot way further from
Mm.
the plants. And remember, the further it goes, the more area it can see. I'll
Mm.
talk about that soon.
Wow.
Further it goes, the more area it can see. And then to crowd everything, we also attach them on satellites,
Okay.
which is the most impressive part of remote sensing. To
Mm-hmm.
me, one
Mm-hmm.
of the most impressive parts, I wouldn't say the most impressive part, there are a whole lot of impressive things about remote sensing. We attach them to satellites.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the further it goes, the wider the area it can see.
Mm.
So mostly we call it a bird's eye view,
Mm-hmm.
right? Up there, you can see everything.
Yeah.
So attach these camera systems to satellites,
Mm-hmm.
which goes all the way up there. Just think about it. You can see regions, you can see countries, even to some extent, you can see continents by throwing light once, you can see a lot of area.
Mm.
So aside from not distracting whatever that we are trying to measure, we
Mm-hmm.
can see a lot of
A
area,
large surface
which
area. Mm.
good, which speeds up whatever analysis that you are trying to do.
Oh.
Think about it. Let's say even only in Bowling Green, we live in Bowling Green right now. We want to measure the chlorophyll content of each plant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's even say one sample in all the farms in Bowling Green. Think about how long it would take for you to do that. Some of these areas are even not accessible.
Mm. By
Think about
road
all
and
this.
okay.
Good. But
Mm-hmm.
now we have these imaging systems that within a single snapshot, you have
Mm.
everything that you want to see. And then you just carry on with any analysis that you want to do.
Wow.
So
This
that
is
is remote
impressive.
sensing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm enjoying this conversation. And I used to think this is so much, ignorance.
Mm,
Any plane that was going, I knew about cargo planes, I knew about the ones
mhm,
that passenger planes and drones and all of
mhm,
that. Now I'm
mhm.
thinking, ladies and gentlemen, it's not all the planes that you see around that either taking,
Exactly.
whether military
Exactly.
or
Mhm,
cargo or humans. There are
mhm.
some of the planes are actually doing their own thing, and that could be as a
Yes.
result of maybe Henry sitting somewhere and trying to yeah, those drones.
Oh.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for
Yes.
grounding our understanding on that. And we want to know, you've said a lot of things, honestly, which got me curious. And
Mhm,
I also understand that in every human endeavor, like how you
mhm,
mentioned that you are trying your best not to obstruct the growth of plants by
mhm,
rather monitoring the chlorophyll from up high using high-powered cameras and light.
Yes.
These may come with its own challenges, as a matter of
Mhm.
fact. I know luminous intensity may differ from one point to the other. You may also encounter different kinds of, things like earthquakes, disasters,
Mhm.
tremors, different kinds of things that may get into your way. So this is
Mhm.
something that I think about, and I'm like, well, if these
Yes.
things exist, then it might not always be a smooth sailing trying to use remote sensors to also capture some of these things. What are some of the challenges that are really associated with this kind of research?
So as you just said, we are using light.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some portions of light which cannot see everything.
Mm.
Some portions of light too, they can see a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they can't see through everything. As I said, the research that I'm doing, that specific mode of data called optical data, I cannot see through clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Use that mode a lot
Mm-hmm.
because of one particular spectrum or wavelength of light, which is called the infrared light. It
Mm.
helps us to see a lot of things in vegetation that our eyes cannot see.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it cannot see through clouds. That's one big problem we have with that mode of data, cloud interference. Then, apart from cloud interference, there are other modes of data that you see optical data. You can see
Mm-hmm.
something red, you can see something green. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite intuitive. There are other modes of data where we use microwave region of light
Mm-hmm.
to capture. Mostly we call it radar data. That is not so intuitive, especially when you see the images. When you see it first time, you ask yourself, what is this? You
Mm.
understand? It's quite difficult to understand if you are a layperson. So that's one big challenge we have to in this remote sensing space, trying
Mm.
to people understand the use of these images that we capture. And one last thing I would add, I don't do. So mostly I analyze these images.
Mm-hmm.
I am not an engineer who make up these systems and send them to space. I mostly analyze these images.
Analyze. Mm-hmm.
But for the people who send them to space to take these images, right now it's becoming a prominent thing to send satellites to space. Yeah, it really helps speeds up things.
Mm-hmm.
You can monitor a whole lot from space.
Mm-hmm.
So think about this. Every person is trying to send satellites to space. And most of these satellites are orbiting through certain paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are driving cars on this earth.
Okay.
If you don't drive in the right way, you probably end up hitting somebody.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So all these satellites in space, probably one might crash into the other, obstructions here and there.
Mm.
So that's one big challenge that in the remote sensing space. Of course, there are organizations in charge of these that the satellites are supposed to take, but that's one also practical problem that
Okay.
our people face. Yes,
Wow.
from
And
space.
and when I think about space data capturing and all of that, one thing that also comes to mind is cost. I know,
Yes.
yeah, it might be, you may want to take some data, but maybe the funding to actually push it
Mhm.
may not really be there. And that is why we don't have data for that.
Mhm.
And maybe
Mhm.
human interaction with the environment. I remember you
Mhm.
mentioned cloud
Mhm.
interference. And previously, according to data, it was much more easier for the Earth's ozone layer to prevent the direct sun rays from hitting the Earth. But as
Yes.
it gets depleted by human activities, now maybe more light is coming and the Earth keeps heating up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would you say human activities in a way which is affecting, climate change is
Mhm.
also getting into this whole remote sensing field, as well as the cost. So how do you think around these two challenges?
Our activities are distracting the ozone layer, which is a big problem we are facing right now,
Mm.
especially when you consider the heat that we've been recording in recent years. It's drastic. Cost is there. Cost, as you said,
Mhm.
at least something directly related to human
All right. And
Yeah.
I saw a data that is released by the NASA, and I looked at the data, and it points out that from 2023 to 2024, there's actually been a record increase in the global, Earth temperature. What does this mean for us as a people?
So I'll direct this towards the no hunger, particularly. We have more heat,
Mm-hmm.
right? The obvious thing that it does to our plants and our crops is it stresses the plants out. It
Mm,
dries them out.
mm,
You see, it dries the moisture in the plants themselves, the moisture in the soil
mm-hmm,
itself, a lot of evaporation, right?
mm-hmm,
And we all know that crops depend on water to grow, at
mm,
least. That's
mm,
one thing we know. Crops need a lot of temperature to grow as well.
mm-hmm,
But when it gets to a certain level, it ends up killing the plant. Right.
mm.
So considering that alone, the obvious problem that we can face when it comes to crops are that it will decline action, right? And
Okay.
then one more thing I should add, pests in crop or in agriculture or in crop monitoring, also consider pests.
Pest.
And most of the pests that are related to crops, they thrive in hot temperatures.
Okay.
When there is more heat, more pests will thrive and simply they will die out the crops. That is leading to a decline in crop production.
Mm,
Already, we've not derived a way of supplying people with the food that they need,
mm-hmm,
right? We are already going through that challenges. And
mm-hmm,
now think about this, that we are accumulating more heat. It's probably going to decline our crop production. So
mm,
it's a big challenge to look at. The
mm,
thing is, when you are able to monitor these things as and when they happen, inform your decisions. So because of NASA, credit to NASA, we know that in recent years the heat has risen. We
mm-hmm,
know it.
mm,
So we respond with practical solutions like creating crops that are heat resistant. The relation between monitoring the earth and then how we can respond with solutions to solve these problems.
yeah.
Yes, so we need to constantly monitor these things,
Mm-hmm,
see exactly what is happening every now and then. And then based on that, we can come up with solutions, being it from the agricultural people,
mm-hmm.
engineers, as long as we know what's happening on the ground, we can pass it to other domain knowledge experts, people, and they can bring up solutions to contribute to this hunger and climate action that we all want to fight against.
It's very interesting. I'm thinking maybe I should start a career in geospatial science. It's
Yeah, it's
interesting.
interesting. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting field. If you see the great things that organizations are doing with geospatial technologies and remote sensing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, that's what even led me here. Because as I'm saying from the start, even my bachelor's degree, geomatic engineering, it was not much about remote sensing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a little bit of geospatial technology,
Mm-hmm.
but not much about remote sensing. But
Mm.
when I started this master's program, seeing what people are doing. As you are saying, when we see airplanes, we don't think that they are capturing something
Yeah, it doesn't
as
cross your mind,
it
right?
doesn't cross your mind at all. You will not
Yeah.
think about that at all.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, you see that it can do something as important as this. You would want to
Mm.
be a part of it. I
So
understand that maybe you are thinking you want to change, but
I should take
just
my time,
just slow
right?
down. Yeah, slow down a little bit.
All right. So yeah, NASA came up in the conversation. For
Mhm.
those of us
Yeah.
who may not be very conversant with NASA, can you give us the full name of NASA before we start a conversation on them?
Yes, so NASA is National Aeronautics Space Administration.
Are headquartered here in
Mhm.
the United States of America. Great.
Yes.
So now we want to zoom into your working and internship with NASA. How did
Mhm.
you get there? And how was the experience like?
That experience, again, I've never experienced anything like this before.
Okay.
Yes, as you said, the environment itself alone, organization itself alone, how they've organized the program,
Mhm.
it's one interesting thing on its own, even aside the things that they are trying to do to impact Earth, right?
Okay.
So it's a phenomenal experience. It was a remote experience.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there in person, but
Mm-hmm.
regardless, or in person, you are working for NASA.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone out there would like to have this experience. Started when I applied for the program, me, it was 50-50. I didn't know if I was gonna get it or
Highly
not.
competitive.
Because everyone is applying to it. Everybody's applying to this,
Mm.
right? And even for the remote position that I applied to, most nowadays in our current world, most of the positions, everybody wants a remote position.
Mm-hmm.
So I was even told that the remote positions are even highly competitive than the
Then
in-person
yes.
positions.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so it made me think, wow, this is going to be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing, I'm a Christian. God being so good, I had faith, and then He came through for me,
Mm.
and I just got it just like that, without any
Wow.
struggle. I just got it. The interview process, it was very smooth. One of the interviews that I was very comfortable and I was able to speak up very well. You know, when you are doing interviews, no matter how confident you are, you'll experience some nerves, no
Uh-huh.
matter who you are. But for that interview, they made it quite comfortable for me. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to speak my mind a lot. From start getting into that program, I
Mm-hmm.
would say it was God's doing. And
Mm.
then when everything started, it's a 10-week program. Let me just give audience what it's all about. Simply, it's for early career scientists, people
Mm-hmm.
like us,
Mm-hmm.
right from school, or even if you want to change fields, as you are saying that the field is interesting, so you are thinking of switching. People like us and you,
Mm-hmm.
everyone. So they give you the opportunity. You've been studying in school, doing a lot of theoretical things. They give you the opportunity to use their observations to try and solve a real world challenge.
It's
It's not
more about
anything
problem solving. It's not about
problem
theory.
solving.
No,
No,
no, a lot of
no, they
theory,
don't they
theory.
don't
This is
make
this, this is that, this
anything
is
up.
that.
No. And you know, they partner with other organizations. So that for me, what the people we partner with is the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture.
Mm.
Work on actual problems that these organizations are trying to solve to better the world.
Mm.
Actual problem. One good thing is it's a feasibility study. You don't go in thinking that by all means you need to solve this problem. They give you the opportunity to just explore how you can use these observations to solve the problem that these partner organizations want to
Mm.
solve.
Mm.
So trust me, it's one of the best experiences an early career scientist can ever have. One
Wow.
more thing, I'm even thinking of going a second time. Fingers crossed, God being so good. I hope it works out for me because
We are
if
with you in
yes,
solidarity
if yes, if you ask me how many times you want to do this, a countless number
every
of times
single
because
time, right? It's
you
great.
you can learn a lot. It's a big learning curve. You learn a lot. You work with the NASA experts themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
guide you. They don't leave you on your own to do anything. Oh, they guide you. There are
Mm.
people in there who will guide you. Oh, we have this problem. Based on the problem that we are trying to solve,
Mm-hmm.
what is the practical way we can do this
Mm.
with the resources that we have?
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to learn a lot in school, but most of them are theory,
Mm-hmm.
theory, theory.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, we are not attaching what we are trying to do with a specific or current problem.
Mm.
So we think we have all the resources available to us to solve problems in school.
Mm. And when you get
When you
on the field,
when
what you
I'm
learn
telling
is
you,
actually there's a
quite
difference.
different. Of course, you build a foundation with your school, but
Mm-hmm.
when you get in the field, it's quite different. You need to tweak your what you've learned to suit the problem that you're solving. The resources you have, use them to solve the problem.
Hmm.
Soft skills all the time, organizing meetings with these partner organizations, with
Mm-hmm.
the science advisors from the NASA people themselves. Communication, teamwork. I forgot to say this. Teamwork is one of the core values of this program.
Mm.
So every team is a team of four. They've made it in such a way that you have someone, maybe someone like me with the geospatial knowledge, have someone with some statistical knowledge to make use of
Oh,
the data.
okay. So
You have someone,
intersection of fields.
I'm telling you, you are not alone. Team, you cannot do everything on your own.
Mm.
You are a Ghanaian, so you know the saying that wisdom is not in one person's head. Everything on your own. So they make sure to get people who can come together and make teamwork, technical ability, how to organize yourself, time
I
management,
think
and so
open-mindedness is one thing that you keep on mentioning. So you like
yes,
you have to open up your mind to learn from different kinds of people. And or else at some
exactly.
point you may feel as though you are down, especially when
Mhm.
you have a lot of experts throwing in a
Oh
lot of
my
things. You
goodness,
might feel
my
dumb in a
goodness.
meeting.
My goodness, my goodness. Sometimes when we are in these meetings, listening to the advices, and when you hear them, you think, so how was I thinking about this solution? Because when you hear what they are saying and what you are thinking
You
about,
question your
so what
intellect, right?
I'm telling you, as you said, you need to be open-minded, right? I have an idea, but listen to what someone else is saying.
Mm,
You might come to find out the idea that you had, although it's quite usable, throw it away and learn from what they are trying to say, right?
I
So
see.
yes, I know that we are young in our careers. We don't know what's going on the ground, so they are there to help us take measurable steps to achieve whatever that we are trying to achieve. So it was a great experience.
Wow.
I remember during the program, as I said, it's a 10-week program. It's very fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to say this thing. So that program helps you to work under tight timelines.
Okay.
Very fast paced.
Speed.
This week
Mm-hmm.
they expect you to submit this. The following week you need to submit this.
Management is also
Yes,
key here.
a very key thing. So during that time, uh, I think we're 24 projects altogether. People are going, they are making huge progress. Oh, when or you see people making huge progress. And then our team, I think it was the data processing part or something like that. We were struggling.
Mm-hmm.
We were really finding it difficult. Our science advisors and other team leads, there are people, as I'm saying, there are so many people there to help you. And then they came, they could see on our faces that we were stressed out
Mm-hmm.
because everything everybody is working. We don't see the way forward. They could see, and they have experience. They've been doing it for years, so
Mm-hmm.
they could easily see what was going on. And they asked us, "Oh, we told them we are finding it difficult here and there." And one simple thing they told us, I don't remember exactly how they said it, but all they were trying to say is that we shouldn't bother. We shouldn't worry ourselves with things like this. That is why they are there to help us,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
If you need help, you reach out to these people, they
Mm.
will help you.
Now we are
Yes.
wrapping up this interview. We want to know, going forward, where do we go from here? What is your hope for an ideal world as far as the SGD is concerned, specifically the no hunger and also the climate action? Where do we go from here?
I'd hope that as people know about, again, doctors, what doctors do,
Mm-hmm.
what nurses do, what teachers do,
Mm-hmm.
I'd hope
Mm-hmm.
that people have that level of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to geospatial technologies.
Okay.
Because if people know the capabilities of these technologies, trust
Mm-hmm.
me, so many people can use it on their own to impact whatever that they are trying to do, whether business, whether anything,
Mm.
anything. As I said from the start, it cannot solve everything.
Yeah.
But when you implement it the right way, it can at least do something small for you, and then
Okay.
you carry on with something else to get to your main goal.
Yeah.
So one thing I hope is that the outreach of geospatial technologies becomes more.
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Let's spread the information. There's a
Yeah.
lot that can be done with these technologies. And
Wow.
then secondly, to do with is so pitiful
Mm-hmm.
when as I'm sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
I have food to eat, I have water to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think about myself. You think you have problems, go to these war deprived countries. Kids and women over there, they don't even
Suffering.
have water
Hmm.
to drink.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have anything,
Hmm.
nothing at all. And I think you're thinking that I have problems. I don't. Of course, I have problems. There are levels of problems.
Yes.
So difficult, but I wish that those of us who are quite established can come together, do something great, and extend arms to these deprived countries.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. We know that a whole lot of people trying to do this, a whole lot of people, individuals, organizations, they are
Mm-hmm.
working on making those people's lives better.
Mm-hmm.
But the more we can do this,
Mm-hmm.
the more they can be helped. Right.
Hmm.
So that is one great wish I have.
Final words to the young scientists who are upcoming. Some may be listening to you back in KNUST, back in your
Mm,
high schools, maybe
mm,
JHS students, or maybe that young boy in that rural area who thinks that, well, where I'm coming from, there's no way I can become a geospatial scientist. What are you
mm,
telling them? What is your message to all the young people who even maybe dreaming of working at NASA? Have you had
mm,
the experience?
mhm.
What would you say they should keep in mind always? Because I'm sure when you started off, you it did not occur you that you end up at NASA, but
Nope.
it happened, right?
Just happened.
Somewhere
It
along the
just
line.
happened.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So good. I like the fact that you brought along the line. It has become one of my favorite phrases, along the line. So we all start with a main goal
Mm-hmm.
when we are young, about myself. So as I said, I want to serve humanity. When I was young, I didn't, of course, I wanted to be a doctor, a health practitioner to serve humanity. That
Mm-hmm.
was the tentative idea. But sometimes, based on the current circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
the tentative idea that you have maybe to be a doctor, it might not exactly happen for you. But don't lose focus of the main purpose that we have here on earth. If you don't lose sight of the main goal, no matter how you do what you do or how you do it,
Mm-hmm.
of course, through a good way, you're good.
Okay. Mm.
So, starting from wherever you are, primary school, junior high school, senior high school, university, you might think of an idea, right?
Mm.
Idea that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Fine, it's a very good idea. But sometimes we don't control what happens in this world. Changes will happen.
Mm.
Them
Mm.
adapt to them,
Mm.
rising your main focus.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure leave room for adaptation
Mm.
and then adapt to these changes.
Mm.
And then along the line, as you said, you definitely reach your main purpose that you set for yourself.
Thank you so much, Henry. It's been wonderful having this conversation with you, and I hope a lot of people get to learn much about remote sensing, geospatial. I know this a starting point. People may now start Googling what is remote sensing, how do we utilize this in our daily lives, and I'm very glad you mentioned that your hopes for the future is that more and more people get to understand this field because it has a lot of potentials. And also to
Yes.
all the young people who are starting off their career and maybe people who are looking to go into either research industry in the area of geospatial analysis or anything related to that, you should just keep your focus. And somewhere along the line, as Henry said, you are going to discover what you really want to do. Thank you so much, Henry, for making this time to have this conversation with you.